Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's video is going to be a watch me work. I'm going to go ahead and film this, even though in my opinion it's not going to be anything spectacular. It is installing 3 ceiling fans, but I know some of you really like these, and this is one where it's going to work out based upon the customer, and I've got some extra time today, so I should be able to fit it in along with filming. I've also got another job to install some drawers inside of an RV cabinet. If I can film some of that, I will as well, but I thought I'd go ahead and get this intro shot. Maybe the footage will turn out okay. If you're watching this, it did, and we'll get right into it, but let's get over there. Start out getting out my tools. Of course, anytime I'm going in a house to do any kind of work or service call, I typically put on this Atlas vest. It's kind of my go bag now. Getting a knife to be able to open up the ceiling fans. Then I'm just trying to think of everything I'm going to need. I'm going to get out the Tool Check Plus, so I got some bits. Also going to probably take my surge in. I don't think I'm going to need it, but I'm going to take it just in case. And then I'm going to take my MP2X because I take that in pretty much everywhere, especially if I'm doing any electrical work. And though installing ceiling fans, it is electrical work, but you know, not that kind of electrical work. Also gonna need some wire nuts or some Wagos. Grabbing those, going back to the back of the truck, putting those in my bag along with my moving blanket, so that way I can just take that whole bag in. And then I also got my magnetic pad. I almost forgot that. Moving the inflator out of the way. I had to pump up Miss Maintenance's tires this morning. They were a little low, so I had to put that back up. And these are the drawers without the faces on them yet that I'm going to have to install. So I'm just getting that moved out of my way so I can get my ladder. And then I'm going to get all these fans out. Got 3 fans total. All 3 of them are the same, just some different colors. Now that we're in the room, I'm going to go ahead and get set up. Put my moving blanket over the bed. That way I've got somewhere to put my stuff. And then also it will keep stuff from falling on the bed. So I'm going to put everything that I'm going to use up on the bed. And this will also be directly below this fixture. Start by taking out the old boob light. And I even came over here the other day on my way home and took this down just to see what kind of box was in there. And luckily she does have some fan rated boxes, so I don't have to change out any boxes on all 3 of these. Of course, 1 bit was Phillips, 1 bit was slotted. Or 1 fastener was Phillips and 1 was slotted, so I had to swap bits. And then now I'm going to also pull the wires down and unhook those. I'm going to check it with my non-contact voltage tester. Light switch is off, shouldn't have power. I'm going to swap these wire nuts out for Wagos. I pretty much always use Wagos on light fixtures. I'm going to use 2 2s and a 3. I'm going to use a 2 on the ground, 2 on the neutral, and then I'm going to use a 3 on the black wire. You might barely see me look over real fast at the light switch just to see if it was 1 or 2. So I'm going to be tying the black and blue wire on the ceiling fan into the black wire in the box. Having to snip that down a little bit so that it's right for the Wago. Now I'm going to swap my flip socket around to 5/16. I've been running this flip socket with the 5/16 and quarter and then putting a bit in it in my vessel, and I really like that because I run into so much stuff where I need everything that's basically on that. This is the kind of box where those screws are going into a stud or into framing. Now we're going to go ahead and open up the ceiling fan, and I'm recording the first one today, so that way it wasn't like, oh, I've already got it all figured out and I'm just doing it really fast. So you'll see me actually look at the instructions some on this. I don't have to look at the instructions on the next two. I'm going to install the mounting bracket, run the wires through, then put those same lag screws back in. And again, the vessel's good enough to get it up in there, and then I just final torque it by hand. I'd rather do that with this than use an impact or something anyways. You never know if you go one too many threads or something. Now we're going to get out the motor housing according to the instructions, and we're going to remove all the, they basically pre-assembled all the screws on these, which is good and bad. It lets somebody know, I guess, if a homeowner was taking this and putting this up, they're seeing what screws they're actually removing from where to know which ones to put back. But then it's really, to me, it's a whole extra step. I've got to take all the screws out and then put them back in. I'm just trying to get a little bit more light for the camera. That's why I went and opened that. I could see fine, but removing all the fan blade screws as far as how it mounts to the motor and setting those off to the side. Gonna put them on my mat over there. And then now also removing the bracket mount screws so that I can mount the fan motor to the bracket up there. You got to take those out and then turn around and put those right back in. So you basically put this motor up inside the mounting bracket, use those same 4 screws to screw it and to attach it to the bracket. These fans were actually pretty easy. Then putting the same 4 screws that I just removed right back in, connecting those 2 pieces. And now I'm going to wire it up again, ground to ground, white to white, and then black and blue from the fan to the black. Because again, it's this single switch. They're going to have to use the pull chain. And then after I get it wired up, I just got to get all those wires tucked back up in there. I can't really get it back up into the box because of the type of box that it is. It's one of those, again, that sits over top of the stud, and this motor housing kind of covers up the area where you could push the wires back up in there. So I'm just getting it all tucked back up inside of basically the metal protection from the fan. Next step is to put the motor housing cover on. Again, all the screws came pretty much assembled inside, so now I got to remove 2 of them and loosen 2 of them. The bed location in this room wasn't too bad for me to be able to get to everything. One of the 2 after this one was a little bit of a pain. Now we got to get all the fan blades put together. I like to go assembly line mode. Basically, once I get into this kind of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and get out all the blade mounts. And I'm going to find the hardware, look for those washers, and then the blade screws. And then now I'm going to try to get everything that I'm not going to be using out of my way, just so I got some more room to work. Here I'm checking my text from the homeowner, double checking what color that she said that she wanted up and down, just to make sure I get it right. I definitely don't want to come back and swap blades around. So again, assembly line process. I'm going to take all the screws, go ahead and put all the washers on them. While I got my hands there, just going to go ahead and do it all at once. Putting on the blades is definitely the most time-consuming part of a ceiling fan, whether it's putting doing this part of it or putting it onto the fixture itself. I've put in some fans where they got pretty neat ideas as far as how to do it, where you just snap stuff in. Whether or not it lasts as long and works as well, I have no idea, but there's some ceiling fan companies out there that's at least tried to make this process a little bit easier, or not easier, but less time-consuming. And I always do these with a just regular screwdriver. I don't want to over torque anything. This is a good thing if you've got 2 people, like if you're a 2-person operation, pretty much as soon as you open the ceiling fan box, if you've got somebody doing this while somebody else is doing, the mounting and the wiring and all that kind of stuff, that's the best process in my opinion. Now I'm going to take my mat with all the blade screws on it, kind of stick it to the side of the ceiling fan. This does 2 things. One is it gives me a place to put all my screws, so I don't have to keep climbing up and down the ladder to grab a screw or set them on my ladder and they fall off. But it also stops those blades from spinning around. Once you put this one in, normally that motor would start turning on you. That blade kind of hits that magnetic mat and stops there. So it kind of serves two purposes. This ceiling's 8 foot tall, so my little giant ladder works perfect for this. The other two downstairs are 9 foot tall ceilings. I start out by using this short ladder, but once I get to the point of having to install the light kit, I can't get to the screws, so I had to end up going to get my bigger ladder. But 8 foot ceilings, I'm 6 foot tall. I can't tell you how much I love this little giant, little foldable ladder. Now it's time to install the light kit. Getting out the globe mount, the globe, and then there's also a light bulb that came included. And then again, the screws came pre-installed. Got to take them out. Slide it over and line it up. And this was the one downstairs. I couldn't get to these screws from my little giant ladder on a 9 foot ceiling. I couldn't get to where I could see them. But on an 8 foot, it's easy. Then you got to run the chain through the holes. That one was a little tedious for some reason. Put the globe on, it just slides up and you spin it. And then I'm going to turn the lights on, or turn the switch on, see which one's the light, which one's the fan, so that way I know which side to put each one of these on, because they're marked on the little pull chain. Also, while I'm doing that, I'll let it run on high, see if I got any wobbling. Now it's again just a matter of getting everything picked up. I'm going to go ahead and save these extra parts just in case I run into something on the other two where something's missing. So I just put those in my vest. Then I just pick up everything that's garbage, put it in the existing, or that new ceiling fan box. Start setting my stuff outside the door. I'll take those to my truck and to the next ceiling fan. And then again, this is why I put this cloth down. I'm double checking there and making sure everything's good with that fan and turning the light on, just making sure. But this is why I put this down, because again, it's just as simple as doing that right there. Anything that was on it that was dust or debris is now folded up in it. And then here's just a time lapse of the other two ceiling fans. I figured you wouldn't want to watch the same thing, 3 times in a row. Now it's the reverse from the beginning. Just get my stuff put back up, put my moving blanket back in the cab of my truck. I'm going to put up anything that I know I'm not going to use on my drawer install job. My MP2X, not going to need that. Or my vest. Go ahead and get that hung back up, which I wouldn't wear that while I was driving over there anyways, even if I was. Not going to need wire nuts, not going to need my magnetic pad or my surge. Go ahead and get them put back up. just gonna have to rearrange some stuff so I can get my ladders back in. But I also want to try to make it so I can still get to the drawers pretty easy, because that's all going to be trash right there that I'm going to dispose of. Again, get the drawers put back in and all the supplies for that, and put my little tote back in. And then now I just got to get my bigger ladder put up, because again the ceilings downstairs were a little bit, you know, taller. My little ladder didn't work, so I had to get this down. I use that lock right there just to make sure that my ladders stay on, and then I also strap them in. But that lock to me is like even if my strap fails, that lock shouldn't fail, just to keep it from blowing off more than anything. So there you go, guys. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just installed 3 ceiling fans, fixtures, ceiling fans, all those kinds of things. That's a lot of the things that I do in a typical day outside of doing my bigger to medium-sized jobs. Those are the type of service calls that I'm fitting in a lot. And again, nothing spectacular, nothing really hard, but a lot of homeowners don't want to just tackle it. They don't want to once you get into some wiring, they just don't want to tackle it. It's a very simple process. Again, all 3 of these ceiling fans, I think they were Harbor Freeze or a Hunter, I can't remember. I'll put a link up here. I actually went and picked them up for them at Lowe's, but they picked them out. And all 3 of them were exactly the same. They were just a little bit of a different color. And the first one that I installed was the one that I recorded. So that's that learning curve one. So once you do that first one, the rest of them, you know, you kind of get a little bit of a system down. You don't have to look at the instructions anymore. Those kinds of things. It gets really easy. But again, I know some of you like watching this. I don't feel like it's really anything to really learn from. A couple of the things, again, I put down a drop cloth on a bed every time, or in the floor, whatever it is. It just makes it super simple to fold that up and get out of that room. The magnetic pad, if you're not using a magnetic pad, you know, slap that up, put your screws on there, saves you a few trips up and down the ladder. That helps out a lot. Wagos, that's another good thing. And light fixtures anyways, I feel like it makes it a little bit easier process. And then the Vessel electric screwdriver. I mean, that thing has been a game changer for me. Absolutely love it for putting in fixtures and stuff like that. I talked about going over, you probably saw the drawers in the back of my truck. I talked about going over and possibly filming that. That ended up being, I was in that RV. It was such a tight spot that I just couldn't hardly film anything and didn't want to do that. So here you can see before the drawers were installed, and then here you can see after. And again, they weren't looking for anything spectacular, just some basically plywood drawers. Just because it was such a deep cabinet, they wanted to be able to get the stuff in and out of the back of it pretty simple. So wasn't much to really film there. Again, it was a really tight spot. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to see anything anyways. But anyways, that's the watching me work for the day. I hope you guys liked it. Again, I try to film these when I can. I know I don't film enough of them. I know a lot of you really, really like these, but I just film them whenever I can. So hope it was useful. Hope it's helpful. Hope it's interesting, whatever it might be. But as always, you guys stay safe. Have a blessed day. I'll see you in the next video.